Hey friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life, and today I am going to be talking about Lyme disease. Smile on my face because I'm doing okay, but I'm having some flares. Not a big deal. But the reason that I wanted to talk today is just because I'm doing better, just because I have a smile on my face, doesn't mean that there are other people dealing with some pain issues, frustration, and how all that intermingles. So today my subject is Lyme disease of pain and frustration, depression, and what can we do about it? And fatigue is in there as well. First of all, those of you who do not understand Lyme disease, it affects our bones and our joints, and we don't understand why we're in so much pain until you get to my point where it's like, oh, that's the Lyme, or I overdid it. You can kind of figure out what's what. And I've been doing a lot of stuff out in the garden. I've been doing a lot of helping with the estate that we're closing down. Even in our own yard, in our own house, we've been lifting and rearranging and so forth. So I get the different types of pain. It's sort of like when you go to work out at the club and you don't have Lyme disease. You go out, you're young, and then you overdo it at the gym. You know why you're hurting 2 or 3 days later. You might have forgotten that you did the workout, but if you stop and think about it, oh yeah, I did that. Somebody who has Lyme disease doesn't recall the tick bite, or even if they do recall the tick bite, the pain is debilitating. It can be in their back, it can be in their abdomen, it can be in their legs, their feet, their shoulders, their arms, their neck. I had it head to toe. My feet were in pain every single day that I would ask my husband, please massage my feet. And he would, and I said, you're not doing it hard enough. So he would do it hard, and he thought he was hurting me. I said, no, I need that because at least I feel and I understand what that pain was. I didn't realize that it was because of that it made it better. Did it go away? No. But it made me feel good for the moment. So what other things did I do? And since then, I have made like comfrey ointment, and I've got another ointment I'm going to be making and trying that I'm going to share on another video. But there are things that you can do. Now, can your doctor give you something for this pain? My doctor gave me some lidocaine patches for my feet because my feet were in so much pain. And I used them for quite a while. But it didn't make enough of a difference because when I'm on a medication or something, I don't want to be on it lifelong. I don't want that at all. And I felt like I was already in a trap with all the antibiotics that I had to take. So I tried it, and instead I ended up either soaking my feet in Epsom salts or wrapping heat packs around it, and it was painful. It really was. So what about the legs? If I'm not out walking and stuff, why do my legs hurt? That's part of the Lyme. Those bugs just like to eat away at us. The abdomen, that's just common. Let's see what else we have. In the back, there were times I couldn't tell if I had flank pain, which would lead to UTIs, or whether it was something else. And I wasn't doing a lot of lifting or anything that I shouldn't do. I mean, I do have back issues, but the pain can be in there. My neck was always stiff. Now, what happens when we have this pain? Well, because we don't understand what's going on, and anyone who has Lyme knows that they'll do all kinds of tests for you. Yay for them. But those tests come back and say, you're fine. Yeah, they did that with respiratory. No, you're fine. They did heart tests on me. You're fine. It was aggravating until I found my Lyme doctor. It was aggravating when I ended up getting a new PCP that I ended up firing because he ditched the whole idea of Lyme. And before I came to him as a patient, I said, I need to know, do you know enough about Lyme disease that you would continue treatment if I needed it? Oh, yeah. Well, he didn't, because to him it wasn't in existence. I don't know if it was a personal thing or what. So I said, I can't be your patient. You keep ditching me. So what do we do about pain? All we can do is live through it. Now I'm going to tell you some tricks you can do. It won't alleviate it 100%. The thing that will help even your back pain, your leg pain, all the discomforts and how you're feeling, like if you've got those bugs crawling all over you, get in a tub of hot water with Epsom salt baths. You're going to hear from a lot of people, no, don't do hot baths. I'm telling you, it made a difference. And the reason it made a difference is, yes, it acerbated those little buggers. And I could feel them crawling. But over time, along with the medication I was on, that feeling has subsided. Now, I can tell you right now that I'm having some flares because I get into the tub because of my pain from the work that I've been doing. And that Lyme stuff is coming back. But there's another thing that acerbates our Lyme symptoms, and that is stress. So those who now feel like they're alone in this world, it doesn't matter how many Lymies are out there. And for those of you who do not understand what a Lyme patient is, they call us Lymies because there's a bunch of us. And by the way, just so you know, Lyme is spelled Lyme. There is no S. It's one disease, but it has multiple factors in terms of how it affects people, and it affects everybody differently. So one of the things I did was those baths, and they helped. And then the other thing, and I'm fortunate because my husband, we used to go to massages and stuff, so he knew how the massage therapist did stuff. He forgets over time. He needs to go back for a lesson and get his own massage. But she's also said he's welcome to come when she's doing a massage, so my husband can see how she does it. So if you have access to a massage therapist, that's great. You can't do it every day there because I couldn't afford it every day. Could you do it every week? It depends on your income. But for me, I couldn't. And for most people who have Lyme disease, they're not working overtime. They're rarely doing their own hours, and they risk losing their jobs. But they still struggle through. And I was working at the hospital. I didn't know it was Lyme disease. I just couldn't understand. So you have all this pain. Now, can you take pharmaceutical pain meds? Yeah. But I'm one of those people that it has to be so bad that I take it. I used to get migraines, and I have migraine medicine. And I only use it when it gets to the point where I cannot function, I feel nauseous. That's when I take that medication. I rarely take it. The one pain med that I took over the counter was aspirin. That was the only thing, not a baby aspirin, but it was, I can't remember the dosage, but I still have plenty. And actually that's something that your doctor can prescribe so you can get it at the copay amount if you have insurance. So those are some things I did. But I also started making my turmeric with pepperine in it because it was what I needed. And my Lyme doctor, when I told him I learned about turmeric, and so I started taking it, he goes, has it made an impact yet? And I said, not really. He goes, you're making your own? And I said, yes. He says, add pepper in there. And so when I got home, I did a little digging, and that's exactly what you do. And I think my is like 1/3 pepper and 2 parts turmeric, or maybe it's 1/4 pepper. I have a video that shows you how to make it. Now, say you don't have a capsule maker device. You can still make some, what's it called? It's a milk that you use the turmeric, and you use coconut oil and stuff, and you warm up the milk, whatever type of milk. So if you have a milk allergy, many Lyme patients do have milk allergies, and they have other sensitivities. So just if it's, I like oat milk. I'm not an almond milk person. I like almond milk. I like soy milk, but it all depends. There's so much controversy on soy that nobody can make sense out of it. So whatever it is, take a mug, fill that up to where you want, and put it in a saucepan. And then put in a tablespoon of turmeric and maybe a teaspoon or less of pepperine or pepper. Add in a tablespoon of coconut oil. Warm this up, not to boiling, but just stir it and blend it. Now let me see. If you have a coffee frother, hold on a second. Let's see, I think I have one right here. Use one of these. Okay, this comes out and this is battery operated, and it's just really easy, and it'll froth up your, I'm trying to think of what it's called. I will think of it. And that's the other problem. So those of you who do not have Lyme do not understand, like, I know the name and I can't remember. Folks, I want you to realize you're not alone. Lyme sucks, but the pain is really bad. And you know what it causes? It's not just the Lyme disease that causes you fatigue. The pain can cause you fatigue. So anybody who breaks their leg, they might be going about their resting and stuff and sleeping more. It's because the pain. Now they can be on pain meds that'll make them tired. What you need to do with that fatigue is do your best to get out of bed. Because, well, first of all, you have to go to the bathroom. So get up, go to the bathroom, and while you're there, take a cool washcloth and just kind of like wash your face. Just a little bit. That coolness will feel good. And if it's too cold, then maybe a lukewarm. Well, if you prefer heat, do that. Heat does tend to exacerbate pain and sensitivities and stuff like that. So be careful on that. Now, I do need to remind you that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not any of that. I am an herbalist, but I'm working on being certified. That's where I'm at there. So I can't tell you what to do. Also, what works for me might not work for you. And that's what the crazy thing is about Lyme disease. Nothing is perfect for everybody. So when you finally get diagnosed, and if you're with a physician who is covered by your insurance, yahoo, there's not many. And mine's retiring and I'm so sad. But I have the tools to work with holistically. And if I really need something, I can go back to another doctor that can give me some prescriptions, but he's not in on this. He doesn't understand. So, he has a connection to my doctor, so if he ever has questions, which worked out good for me. It doesn't work out good for everybody. So those of you who do not understand Lyme disease and you have somebody who you say claims to have Lyme disease, be a little empathetic, because you never know when it might be you. So in saying this, the fatigue makes you tired all the time. You sit down and you go to sleep. You get up and you want to go back to bed. That's what Lyme does to you. More so if you've had it long term like I did and you didn't know what was going on, that can be doing it. Now I wanted to also talk about the antibiotics that we are put on as we go around. I mentioned in one of my videos that I was on antibiotics for 4 years before I got off them completely. After 2 years, I started digging into some herbals and stuff like that. I was digging, and I'm on some of those Facebook groups. I got off some of them because it was like, see, when you're on, if you have Lyme disease or any illness and you're on those groups, I want you to think about, or I recommend that you think about staying only with the groups that are uplifting, okay? Because when people are always bantering and oh, is me, woe is me, instead of looking to uplift one another, which will uplift yourself. It really will. I had to get off some because for me, I disagree with the idea, and I could be wrong. But right now, after all the past 3 years, I don't know what science to believe. But they said that some people said you should not have sexual relations with your husband. I said, what? That's not going to change, because why are we going to deprive ourselves from something that brings pleasure? The one thing that can bring pleasure while you're fatigued and everything, and if you are enjoying it, then why should that be taken away from you? It shouldn't. And I think when so many people saying you can give it to your husband, I just said, my husband probably brought a tick home to me, but no, it goes back further than that. But because my husband hunts, he fishes, so he's out there. And I went fishing with him last summer, so that was kind of like, it was interesting. But, you have to remember that you do with what works for you. They say it can also pass down into your children. Could it? You know what? By the time I found out I had Lyme disease, my children were already born, and I did share that with them, but they don't want to. They don't want to hear that. They already have things to deal with. So, it's kind of one of those things. I'm not going to dig on it for them because everybody has their own responsibility to figure out what's going on in their situation. Pain, okay, can cause fatigue and depression. That's just the way it is. Pain can cause an elevation in temperature. Pain can increase your blood pressure. So there's a lot of symptoms to Lyme disease. That pain is the worst part. And for those who do not understand Lyme disease, it's hard for me to tell other people how it goes. Now, one of the other things is not just brain fog. I had something on my mind, so I'm going to go on. One of the things that happens when we're on antibiotics nonstop is we end up with yeast infections. That's candida, that's whatever. Now there's some different symptoms. A red patch of skin with small raised bumps. It's like an inflammation, so it raises. I get that with bandages, so I can't have adhesives. But we found one of my specialists, because we were talking about me going in for a procedure, I wouldn't go in because there's no adhesive because I get these raised bumps. But even if you're not using adhesives, you could potentially have these when the Lyme is attacking you. So I get them when I'm around plants, and I love to garden. And so I have to be careful. There are some herbs. I brought them to, and she's retired, I brought her to my allergist. I took cuttings from my yard. I brought them to her. And she was so thrilled because her office smelled amazing. But she tested which ones I'm allergic to, which ones I'm sensitive to, and she gave me directions on how to use them so that my body wasn't so bothered. Now, you can get itching, burning sensation, vaginal discharge, different ones. Most women understand that. White patches or sores in your mouth from antibiotics. There are some antibiotics that cause that. And there's swelling, the inflammation. So we're on antibiotics to make us better, right? It makes us feel worse, and then you have the potential side effects of fungal infections. That really sucks. I was on nystatin all the time for those years when I started complaining about these side effects. And another thing is, some people who do not believe in Lyme disease will say, oh, it's just candida. Well, when you test positive and your doctor's looking at it and say, yes, you have this is what CDC confirms that you have Lyme disease and all this, you kind of like these other people who say, well, that's candida. What they should be saying, it's possible you have it. And you know what you can do? You can go to your physician and order a test that's covered by your insurance if you have insurance. And then you're all set to find out. I've had some different tests done, and sometimes it comes back negative and sometimes it doesn't. I just have the itching. So it's all okay, but you need to understand that part of the side effects is not just increased pain or increased other symptoms like fatigue and dizziness and whatever, light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, all of those things, they are compounding. And then these side effects of our antibiotics are compounding everything. So I know a few people, like, they were on medications that made them feel worse. And then they decided when the symptoms all came back, they didn't want to go back on because to them it wasn't worth going back on. You know what? You get it. I get it. Now, I was on for a long time, and now I have my herbs and what I do, because I have some stuff happening right now that I'm actually using my herbs again more fully, because I take them like a couple times a week right now just to kind of be in check with it. But now I've just brought them back in because I need, these are herbal antibiotics, by the way. These are things that I've found in the past that work for me. And I can share some of this stuff at a future video, but right now I'm just talking about this. So now this is what causes Candida. Taking antibiotics, steroids, oral contraceptives. So if you're on hormone replacement or on birth control, it can cause it too. Medicines that cause dry mouth or medicines that turn off healing bacteria. You know, another thing that I had with Lyme disease, always drinking water because I had dry mouth all the time. And I mean, I drank a lot. Feeling stressed, that's the topic I want to talk to you about in a minute. Eating a diet high in refined carbs, sugar, and yeast. If you're dealing with Lyme disease, those are some things that you need to do your best to avoid. Having uncontrolled diabetes, HIV, cancer, or compromised immune system. Antibiotics can, some people say Lyme is an immune compromised disease and some don't. So I'm not going to get into that battle because I choose my battles. Let's see. Experiencing hormonal changes, which is pregnancy and going through menopause, perimenopause, and menopause. So that can just, a lot of these other things that happen in life naturally can feel like Lyme disease. So you can get hot flashes. Did you know Lyme disease can cause hot flashes too? Yeah. It can change. Lyme disease can affect your hormone levels. I'm not kidding. I know from experience. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is stress. Having Lyme disease is so stressful. And yet, to avoid other things, we need to bring ourselves to a point where we're not stressed. But how do you get there? It's really hard. By pulling ourselves away from other people, because people-y, when it's people-y out there, we can't handle it. When we're stressed and we're feeling awful, our pain levels, we get agitated. And I talked to my Lyme disease doctor about this, and I said, I'm getting angry. And he says, yeah, that's typical. And he wasn't upset. He didn't care if I yelled at him. He didn't care. He would just sit back and let me vent. Now, I never actually yelled at him. I would just kind of like frustration, anger, and stuff like that. But I told him, I said, even at home, I would snap at my husband for no reason because I was so frustrated. He was in my face. He was this. Lately, he's not used to me doing stuff, and I've been building my body up because I've been doing a lot of stuff that's heavy and everything. When I was dealing with Lyme at the worst, I couldn't lift anything. It hurt to walk. It was just awful, and things would fall out of my hand. I'd pick something up and it would fall. So I learned to pick up a cup and make sure my hand was underneath it. This here is to remind me, if you're dealing with Candida, one of the problems with antibiotics is it affects your gut health. Right now, because I was on antibiotics for so long, even after I got off it, I kept getting a UTI continually. I'd get better and then I'd go back on. Now, we don't know what was causing this, and I'm not going to go into what it might be or what it couldn't be because that's not for this. So UTIs is a common symptom of Lyme disease. That doesn't mean just because you get them, you have Lyme disease. This is the real frustrating part about having Lyme disease, because a physician who doesn't understand Lyme, they'll say, no, this is what could be causing it and so forth. And if you look up UTIs, there's a whole slew of things that can cause UTIs. So what I wanted to do is, because I am seeing a more holistic doctor for just getting my body back in place, and I did a video on gut health. This one here is called Lactoprime Plus. I don't know if that's going to come in very clear. I'll try to leave it there so the camera can refocus on it. This here is something I take. It is expensive. This one says $43.99. I'm sure it has gone up in price. I keep this refrigerated. It's out right now because I wanted to share it with you. This is something that helps with your gut health. Now, if you're on antibiotics, it will support your health, but it's not necessarily going to solve everything. You might still have yeast infections for a while. With this has 25 billion CFUs, multi-species, and it's a refrigerated probiotic. Now, I'm not into probiotics, honestly, I am not, because I tried a bunch, and I told her, I said, I'm really not interested. And she goes, but your gut health, because of some of the symptoms, and she goes, I know it's your gut health, Laura. I said, yeah. But I did buy it. You know why? Because I wanted what was going on to stop. And so we do this. I do this. It depends on what's going on in my body, but I do it. I try to do it every day, but I'll be honest with you, I'm so tired of pills. I do this maybe about 4 times a week. But you should do this every day, and it says here 1 capsule per serving, and you should do it every day. And if you're on antibiotics, I recommend doing it every day. And if I was still on them continually, I am on one right now because of another infection, but the point is, what's nice is it's been 6 months. Hurrah! You need something to counteract what the antibiotics are doing to your body. It sucks, I know, and everywhere we turn, and this is not covered by insurance. It was not covered by my card. My husband has a card that he has some money on, and that's part of the benefit, but that's not something that's covered. That card doesn't cover my massages. It doesn't cover a lot of things that are therapeutic for somebody with Lyme disease. And that is why, for those of you who do not understand why it's so hard to have Lyme disease, we have buckets of antibiotics. And there's quite a few. And some of them are $100 a treatment or $100 for the prescription. And this is a lot of money, and if someone does not have insurance because they can't work or they can't get it through their state or whatever the case may be, they're on their own. And if they don't have a proof positive Lyme disease test, not based on the ones the hospitals and stuff do, it has to be, I'm hearing bad things about IGeneX. There's another company out there, and I'll try to put it in the underneath later. But you want to go where they're going to test you and make sure that it is definitely Lyme disease. But we don't want to be fishing around for the one who always comes up positive. We don't want to do that. We also do not want to say, oh, I have Lyme disease. That's what it is. Because if you don't have a doctor that you're counseling with, or that you've already had experience, so oh, this is a Lyme trigger. Nope, this is me working out in the yard. If you don't have that, then how do you know? That's why I like having my connections with my physicians that I respect, because they understand me, they listen to me, and they know I know my body really well. Get to know your body. Get to know so that when you go in to see a physician, you tell them the symptoms. They might test you on a bunch of things that are not going to make sense. Hopefully you have insurance, because those of you who do not have insurance, you're not going to do it. So you're scrambling. You're scrambling around for, I don't know what this is. Well, I would consider seeing a naturalist. The naturalist I see is far less costly than seeing a regular physician. It just is. And I still have the same copay for her as I do a regular physician, because she does take insurance. But if she didn't, her rate is far less than a physician at a clinic or a hospital. So try not to assume that you have Lyme disease from one symptom or another symptom or another symptom. I'm really sorry to give you the bad news. You really need to see somebody who specializes in it. But for the physicians that are charging $800 to $1,200 for somebody who is so sick and has to go on all these expensive medications, shame on you. Your job is to help people, because you see them for an hour or two and you're going to make them broke. The reason I say this, and I'm not discrediting your knowledge at all, what I'm saying is they're already at the bottom of their hope bucket. They're already down at the bottom. They can't afford to see you. If they can, they're using a credit card. So they're going into credit card healthcare debt. On top of Lyme disease, the fatigue, the pain, the expense, how do they get better? Because one of the things that makes Lyme disease worse is stress. So we need to stop and think about, more so if you are a patient who has Lyme, you have to sit back and say, okay, how do I want to battle this? How do I want to fight this disease? If you want to fight it naturally, I will be sharing herbs as I go along, maybe not this month because there's a lot of stuff going on, but I will try to get to them soon. And I'm not going to do them all at once, but I want you to understand that what might work for me might not work for you, so you got to try. One of the best ones that work against bacteria is oregano. Now there is an oregano oil that is like a tincture, and you just take a little bit, and boy baby does that burn. I'm not talking about essential oils, but it's pharmaceutically grade oregano oil. But what can you do that's less costly? Grow an oregano plant. And you know what you do? Those oils in the oregano plant, when you put it in hot water, will be released, and those oils are going to help you with your symptoms and hopefully heal you. I also added in thyme. Those are the two plants I recommend anybody with Lyme disease to have, because those two I used to put in a teacup, and I've been doing it lately for the last couple of weeks. Put it in a teacup, a sprig, I don't know, that's 3-4 inches. Put that in there and put, for both, and just let it heat. Now you can reuse those herbs if you like, or you can put it in a little teapot or a coffee press. You could put a bunch in. Hold on. This is why I got this, because sometimes I want more than 1 cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and I wasn't drinking coffee until 2 years ago. But because I didn't, I was really grateful because it gave me the excuse to have tea all the time. So this is a coffee press, and what you do is you put your herbs all in the bottom, okay? And then you put your hot water in, and then you just let it soak for a while. I would let mine soak for a while in the hot water, and then I would just press it out, because those oils and those herbs, they're fabulous. Now, how long do you keep it in there? I would say about 10 minutes, because that's what I would do when I made the tea. But then you have something that you can drink all day. What did I do to sweeten that up? Fresh stevia from a stevia plant. Some garden centers have it. I've never seen it at a grocery store, but check. They do have a whole shelf of herbs and stuff. Be careful with those, because those are not freshly cut, but you can also dry or get stevia dried. When you buy stevia, make sure it's green, because otherwise if it's white, and I made the mistake and I bought the white stevia because it was like, okay, it's better than sugar, and it was good, and they were saying stevia cures Lyme disease. I don't believe that, because if it did, so get the green powdered stevia. I grow stevia all the time, and I just put it through my coffee grinder after I've dried it. So I have stevia for the sweetener, and I have the herbs. Now, if I have fresh stevia grown, which I do right now, I would take a couple of leaves, 2, 3, depending on the size, and put it in with the oregano and thyme. It is a delightful drink. So when you get up and you're not feeling good at 2 or 3 in the morning, and you can't go back to sleep, make yourself a cup of tea. If nothing else, it'll help calm you. And to add to that, to help calm you so that you can go back to comfortably go to sleep, add some chamomile, like a tablespoon of chamomile flowers. Does it have to be fresh? Well, it's better, but you can get chamomile flowers. You can go to a natural food store and stuff. So now I've given you 4 items that help. That chamomile is going to help reduce your stress. The stevia is supposed to help with Lyme disease. I also buy the stevia and I make stevia tinctures. And I put stevia in my coffee every morning. And then you have the oregano and thyme. All four of those can work together, and that is a nice, comfortable tea. Try that and see if you at least feel better drinking it. And if you're not a tea connoisseur, okay, I'm not going to insult you. I'm going to say you might want to try it. I tell my husband, you either do it or stop complaining. Because he has some other stuff like his respiratory and stuff, and he was asking me, what do you have? What do you have? And I said, well, you always complain and then you stop taking the tea or whatever I recommend, so I don't want to do it. He goes, no, I don't want the pharmaceuticals. Okay, this is what you got to do. But even with his respiratory stuff, it got to where it wasn't clearing up. So I said, go to the doctor. We don't want to ditch the doctors. You want to have doctors that you can have a positive relationship with so that you're communicating. If you're seeing a doctor for one thing, you want to be able to tell them, this is going on, this is why I'm taking it. The only type of doctors that I found that really care, I don't want to say this because I don't want to insult them, is orthopedic docs. They know, some of them know that pain is caused by Lyme disease. But my last one, my orthopedic doc, I haven't seen him in a few years. He told me, well, you've been on the antibiotics for a couple of weeks. You don't have Lyme disease anymore. And I'm like, what? So you know what? It depends on what he knows and the sources he's getting the information. Was he trying to say I'm lying? I don't think so. I really like this doctor. What was really interesting, I used to have horrible hip pain. Horrible hip pain. We were at the point of having some hip surgery, and I didn't want it because I had some other procedures and I was done with surgeries. So this orthopedic doctor, he told me, well, you can have a laparoscopic. That might help. And I do have arthritis in my hips, but it wasn't so bad. He goes, Laura, I'm going to see you in 10 years for the hip replacement. You don't need to do this. It's been 16. It's been, because I was seeing him prior to this, so we're talking 10, 12, 14 years now. I don't have the hip pain that I did back then. It was awful. I couldn't walk. Do I have the back pain? Yes, I had surgery on my back, and when some tests came back, the spasms and all this other stuff, I had my surgeon look at it. He's now retired. All my doctors are retired. That's awful. But what I did was I learned a lot from my physicians. So my back pain, I'm just taking turmeric with pepperine, and I'm also taking, oh goodness, valerian root. It's an awesome pain reliever. And my husband now takes it because it helps. And if you take both, it works together. But you don't want to take aspirin with it. Even though aspirin is my go-to, like if I'm out on the road or something, I'll take an aspirin because it doesn't make me tired. It doesn't do any of that. Although I do carry turmeric and pepperine with me as well. But valerian root makes me tired, and it can kind of give you a little bit of a high if you're not used to that, and I'm not comfortable with that. So, and there's another herb that some people you have to get a special prescription for. And, I did have it, and I don't anymore. And the reason is, it did help. It really did. It also helped with the anxiety that came along with this, but it helped me sleep better. And then there was different ones that could help me be alert. But I decided it really wasn't my thing, but it did what it needed to do for my needs. And it got me through another stage. When you have chronic or long-term Lyme disease, you're just fishing for what's the next best answer. I'm a researcher by nature in terms of I will go on to medical journals. I will do whatever I can, even herbal journals and stuff. But that does not mean what I find is actually what I need to feel better. So remember that we're not in this alone. We're in this to encourage one another. And those who are watching who don't have Lyme, but maybe you know somebody who does, or you're just curious because it's all out there. This is something that you need to have your heart open to understand. It's almost like a lot of us don't understand COVID. We need to be informed, and a lot of people who had it have long-term COVID now. And I always thought, well, could that have been the same thing of why we have Lyme disease? And you'd have to do a lot of research, because I'm not going to go into it here as to what they think causes Lyme, what initially caused Lyme. Yes, ticks spread it, but you don't, where it came from is a different story, and I'm just not going down that rabbit hole. But saying that, even with the COVID, they may be doing the same treatments that I'm doing, because a lot of their symptoms are very similar to what we all have. Now, I don't know if any of you have any autistic, friends or anything? Well, they have a variety of spectrums too, of how they are treated and the symptoms. Although many diseases can be controlled by diet, it doesn't mean that it goes away. But like high blood pressure, if you watch what you're intaking, you can reduce your high blood pressure. But the moment you change your diet back up and you get back in a bad habit, your blood pressure, the high blood pressure will come back. And that's a symptom I have with Lyme disease. It was like, they would do blood work, I'm fine. And they couldn't find anything in the cardiologist's office when I did that a while back. And you know what? That's just part of Lyme disease. But not always. But if you're a person who has heart issues, watch your diet. So, stress is horrible for all of us. I've been under a lot of stress, and I have to make sure that I'm drinking water. Because between the stress and getting dehydrated if I'm not drinking water is causing symptoms. The dizziness, the fatigue, and some of those creepy crawly feelings and stuff like that. It's very important, whether you have Lyme disease or not, that you take care of you and that you treat your body like it's important. I know you want that ice cream. There are alternates that are twice as expensive, or you can make, whatever it is, make something that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. Do not use sugar substitutes. And one of the things that I asked my physician, because when I was on one of the groups, they used to yell at me all the time because I said, no, you can have fruit and vegetables. Get out in the garden or go to the store and get your fruits and vegetables. That is God's gift to our bodies. And they said, you can't have any sugar, not even in fruit. I'm like, whatever. So I went to my Lyme doctor. I said, Dr. D, this is what I've got going on. This is what they're saying. I said, can I have fruit? He goes, absolutely. He said, if it grows from our earth, you can have that, because that's a natural sugar that your body can handle. Now, if you have diabetes and all this other stuff, you need to talk to your nutritionist. Do that. But for me, I'm eating fruit, and I love fruit. Now, do I eat more fruit than vegetables? No. I eat fruit 1 to 2 in terms of vegetables. So, like I'll have 2 vegetables to 1 fruit. Then again, I make my salads like there's like 5 vegetables in there, and then I might put mandarin oranges in, or I'll cut up an apple, or I'll do something along that line. So use your diet to help you better. Okay, I know you're tired. You just found out you had Lyme disease, and you just don't have time to make your meals. If a friend, a real friend, calls and says, is there anything I can do for you? Ask them. Tell them, I really need a salad. Now, they might think that, you can do that. Okay, I'll tell you what. Ask them to bring I buy Leaf brand lettuce. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. My garden lettuce is almost up, so I'm looking forward to that. This is grown right here in Concord where I live. and I like this brand. Interesting enough, but maybe a couple weeks ago, there was a recall. And then it came back and said they used the wrong test. So we can't even trust the scientists who are testing our food. But anyways, I use this brand all the time. It's local, but you have farmers markets around too. You can get fresh lettuce from them, and you can grow your own. So if you have a friend that truly wants to help you, ask them, could you get me some lettuce, or could you make me a salad? And if they don't want to, they might say, can I get you the ingredients? Just say, yeah, could you get me some of this? The reason I like this brand is because it's fresh, and they don't put the stalks like I like kale. I no longer buy kale in a bag. I started to, and it's like, this is just ridiculous because it's all mostly stalk. And I give that to my chickens in the wintertime when I don't have kale growing. But even they're picky. They want red kale. I spoiled them. I've got some red kale growing so that I can share my kale with them. But if you start eating your green leafies, okay, start eating those. Add a cucumber. If you like tomatoes, add that. Do not be stuck on what other people are saying that you shouldn't do, because they are not you. What works for them might not work for you. So if you are feeling deprived, like I can't have a salad, I can't have an apple in it, I can't have mandarins in it, I can't do this, I can't have a banana, wrong. Your body, when you're craving it, it's because your body needs it. You need potassium, you need protein, you need whatever you can get into your body that is healthy. So try to focus on that. But I would suggest that you start eating some salads. And if you don't have a spouse or a friend who's willing to do that, next time you're having a good day, try to pick up one or two of these and have them in the fridge. And you know what? Everything's already there. You just take a handful out and have a little salad. And so I do hope that if you have a friend that says, call me if you need anything. You know how they're all doing that on Facebook? I'm praying for you. Call me if you need anything. But you know something? For those who are listening that don't have Lyme, we don't want to call you because we're too tired. And we don't want to be a burden because we're already a burden to ourselves. I felt awful towards my health. I always felt like I just didn't want to do stuff. He did a lot for me. I am very, very fortunate because there are many people who end up in divorce because of Lyme disease. That's really sad. When my husband and I said our vows, we said in sickness and in health. He stood by me through that. I stood by him during a very stressful time at one of his jobs. Right now, we're both going through something with the estate, and our stress levels are up here. But we're here for each other. And so I'm really sorry for those of you who have lost a spouse or a significant other because of how Lyme disease affects us. More often than not, it affects us in the fact that we have needs. We are in so much pain, we get grumpy, and we're stressed. And when we get grumpy, we might yell here and there, or we might say some language that we never said before. And that was a question I had from my Lyme doctor. I said, I'm swearing. I actually accidentally swore. And he goes, I'm going to have to call my mom and tell her. And he's older than me, so he didn't call his mom. So know that you're not alone feeling this emptiness, this void. You're not alone. But I'm asking those of you who are with a spouse who has Lyme disease, please be compassionate. Please understand they cannot help what they're doing. Now that I have pretty much gotten to the point where I know what my symptoms are and I can kind of handle it, what I'm able to do is vocalize that, hey, my tremors are here, so if I start shaking, just be aware. I'm cranky because my anxiety levels are up. Communicate that to your spouse, your family, your friends, whomever. And, before I go, one thing that people complain about is, and this happened to me, they said, I can't go anywhere. I feel like I'm an invalid in my own home. Even though I can get up and walk, I have no energy. I'm in too much pain. But friends have pretty much left me. They do, don't they? And they don't want to spend time with you. And then when they do, if you want to talk about it a little bit, like if they say, how you doing? They don't want to know. Be that friend that wants to know. Don't let them go on and on and on. Try to refocus them. Bring some hip-hop music or whatever that you know they enjoy. Or if you go and visit them, know that they're going to be tired, okay? But bring a movie that might be funny, because what gets them out of depression, what gets me out of depression, okay, this is my therapy, is good music. I like country, I like Christian, I like a variety. The classical music, I just kind of like during Lyme, I just like, nah, not today, thank you. Get them involved in things that they enjoy. One of the things that helped me too was getting out into the garden. Now, they may not be interested in going to the garden center because it's very fatiguing. It's still fatiguing for me. I go to one. And I had a friend last year, sweet, sweet friend. She wanted to take me to the garden center. And I said, I don't need anything. So I said, but you know what? I'll go with you. I grabbed some cash and I went with her. And I was tired. I was done before she was. So we both went to the registers and we paid for our stuff. And then she says, oh, let's go over to this one. I said, oh, I don't think so. Because I don't have the energy to go all over. I am not a shopper. I do not like to shop. I don't like to buy things I don't need, and I bought too much of some of that stuff. And when you go to the garden centers, consider the herbs that are beneficial. So maybe you're up for a trip to the garden center. And if not, maybe your friend can bring you an oregano plant or a thyme plant. I'm just trying to give some ideas of encouragement. And seriously, if you have somebody who says, let me know if you need something. I have friends that don't live even close to me and they say that. I'm like, I'm not going to ask somebody from out of state to come all the way up here and buy me a plant. And by the way, when I was in the midst of Lyme disease, I would not have thought of that, because you feel like you're a burden. So friends who know people who have Lyme disease, they feel like they're a burden, so they're not going to ask you. And when you're in the midst of depression, you're not going to reach out, because you know when you're depressed, all you feel is pain, or you feel discouraged and you're disappointed and all this. So we don't want to throw that on your shoulders. So don't say, call me if you need anything. Say, hey, can I get you a salad? I would love to make you one, or I'd love to pick you up one. What do you like in your salad? That is what you can do. Don't buy them a half gallon of ice cream. And those Lymies that are saying yes, no. Do what is beneficial to your body, because our goal when we have Lyme disease is to get better. And if you're going to have the junk food, which you're going to crave, because the antibiotics are going to cause fungal infections, which causes your body to crave sugar. It's a vicious circle. Don't eat the sugar, okay? We want to be better. We want to thrive. And although my days are not always perfect, I'm getting out of bed so much better. I wake up and I'm joyful. And that is where you want to be. It has been the end of 2014 is when I was diagnosed. Most recently, in the last 4 or 5 months, I've been doing so much better. Before COVID, I started getting better, and COVID threw me right back in there because COVID was depressing. And so know what your triggers are, okay? If people are putting demands on you, that can be horrible. But you know what you do first is love yourself. Take care of your body. And in doing that, with the medication that the doctor is prescribing, I can't even talk. The medication your doctor is prescribing, work with them. You're going to be on those antibiotics between 2, 3, or 4 months. And then they're going to switch it just to make those bugs angry. And it's going to make you feel miserable. But if you have a nice healthy salad waiting for you when you get home, or a nice healthy chicken dinner with broccoli or Brussels sprouts. And you know what? If you don't like them, watch some of my videos. I show you how to cook Brussels sprouts. I teach you how to asparagus. I got to cook some asparagus up. I haven't had any yet this spring. Learn to enjoy those foods. I never liked asparagus, I never liked peas, and I never liked Brussels sprouts. Guess who's eating that stuff all the time? Me. And it's awesome. And I want you to feel this good. Again, just because I'm feeling good doesn't mean that sitting here right now, I'm not having problems. It's because I want to encourage you to have the smile that I enjoy wearing. I want you to have that smile. So if you are struggling, know that you are not alone. You should have seen me when I was tired, and pictures back then showed it. I want you well. I want you to strive to be the best that you can be, one day at a time. Folks, I hope you have a fabulous day, and for those of you with Lyme, my heart is with you. I pray a covered prayer for those who have Lyme disease. So know that you are being prayed for, not specifically because I don't know you each individually, but know that I'm praying for the people who have Lyme disease. And know that God loves you too. And if you're not a believer, God loves you too. But do something that brings you joy. And if it's not prayer and you do other things, like say you, what are some things that people do? They meditate. You can meditate. That's very healthy for Lyme patients. If you can't move and you're hurting, some people enjoy yoga. I do some yoga. I'm not a fan of it, but I do some. So I'm rambling again. I do that once in a while. Know that I care about you, and I hope that this was encouraging. Folks, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I hope that you do, and I hope that you leave a comment of whether this was helpful, if there's something else that you want me to address, because I'm not sure if everything is in here, and I'm not sure if I had the symptoms either. A reminder, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a doctor, I'm not anything like that. I'm just an herbalist working towards her certificate, and I've been working with herbs since 2016. Actually, I've been working with them prior to my diagnosis because I was trying to figure out what I could do, but more intentionally after I was diagnosed. And so that's where I'm at. I was going to say something else, and it's like, no, I'm talking too much. Folks, know that you are loved, and may God bless you, and have a great day. Hey friends, one more thing that I wanted to share with you is when I videotape it, my shades are pulled, but I wanted to share with you one thing that you can do for yourself is get plenty of vitamin D from the sun. Make sure that you get out there and go for a little walk, even if you can't walk very far, or sit on your deck. Go out in your backyard, go down the street, whatever. That I found in the summertime, the sunshine helped me the greatest. I just wanted to share that tip before I ended this video. Thanks so much and enjoy.